Today's podcast, I'm going to talk about the history of professional wrestling. Try to get into a great deal of it and see if anyone wants to, join me in this uh, right here. Uh, so, right now, I'm going to start from the beginning. Uh, History of professional wrestling was performing at the Sheraton in the 1920s with proceeds and unfair and variety of strongman's wrestling performances, which often involved match mixing in the 19th century. Professional wrestling was a popular form of entertainment in Australia, North America, Latin America, and Europe and Japan. Wrestling is wrestling as a modern sport developed in the 19th century of traditional folk wrestling, emerging from its two styles of regulated and competitive sport: freestyle, Greco-Roman wrestling, based on the British tradition, respectively. Summarized under the term amateur wrestling by beginning from the modern Olympics in 1896, separation of the worked pure performative choreography wrestling emitted fakely or kayfabe from its competitive sports begins from the 1920s. Um, you see, its popular decline during the World War II, but it revived in the 1940s, 50s, in the golden age of professional wrestling. The United States during the Gorgeous George gained mainstream popularity in Mexico, Japan. The 1940s and 50s was also a golden age for professional wrestling, with Santino beginning a Mexican folk hero, and I'm not going to pronounce his name, achieving similar fame in Japan. There was a marked decline in public interest in the 1970s and 80s, but it eventually, all that. And you see, first going to tell me what origin stories of wrestling. This is the origin. Uh, Combining with wrestling and showmanship in the 1930s France, where the showman presented his wrestling under the names such as Edward the Steel Eater, Gustav of the Bone Record, Bone, I don't know, it's Bon Appetit, I don't know, I can't pronounce it. The Ox of the Lower Alps challenged members of the public to knock them out for 500 francs. In 1848, French showman Jean, I'm not going to pronounce his name either, former first modern wrestler to circus trope and established the rules not to be executive beholds beyond the waist. A style is named flat hand wrestling. This is a new style, soon spreads across Europe and the Austria-Hungary Empire. Seems a lot of stuff, I'm assuming this one they actually fought. I'm not going to go through all this because there's a lot of stuff in here, and I'm basically reading a book report. I'm just going to get to the things that, popularity wrestling, like this right here. It says popular experience, dramatic tailspin in 1951 to 1920, becoming a distance from the American public because of the widespread doubt of the legitimacy statuses of competitive sports wrestling during that time. Recounted as largely faked by the 1880s, also due to Frank Gotch retirement in 1913. New wrestling superstars emerging to captivate the public eye in response to professional wrestling. Ed Lewis, Billy Sandow, Tom Moot formed their own promotion in 1920, modifying its in-ring production to attract fans. Three of us referred to as Goldust Trio. Due to its financial success, the promotion also was the first to use limit matches, flashy new holds, suggestive maneuvers. They're also polarizing tag teams, inducing tactics such as distracting referees, making sure matches are more exciting. Well, That's I like that. In the late 1920s, succession with the success of the more worked aspects of professional wrestling, and I like the gimmicky submission holds more introduced the British wrestling amateur style. Let's see. Okay, this is Australia. Uh, I'm gonna try to find the. I'm gonna see if they can find something on the. I'm trying to find one on the mafia part of it. Let's see. I gotta type in the right thing because I really. I mean, do they either type in the microphone? Okay. Let's see. Okay, no, it's not do it. Paul Bosch or let's see what's his name. Okay. Yeah, let's see. I want to see the United States. I want to see what they give us. I typed in old promoters from that era, and let's see. I want to know what they consider promoters. Hay Allen was a promoter from 1882 to 1958. Wrestling Alliance, Smith's Wrestling Alliance. Perry Bash, Paul Bowser. Let's see. This should be one. Actually, one's one I know. Let's see. I'm gonna go down because like these like 1800s territories. Ole Anderson, Dan Adams, Billy Ash, uh, Jack Barnett. Let's see. Jim Barnett. I know that Bruce Pitcher and all them talk about Paul Bosch, Terry Blackwell. Let's see. George Cannon, Bill Carr. There's quite a few of them. Dick the Bruiser. Dick the Bruiser was 1929 to 1991, 1971, 1990. He ran WWA. Let's see what Ole Anderson he ran. Ole Anderson was Georgia Championship Wrestling. He ran from 1952, 1967 to 1993. He was a grizzled man. I used to think that Arn Anderson were actually brothers in real life, but I didn't realize years later his name's not even Arn Anderson. It's kind of funny because going back and watching, I don't know why I believe that. Except they kind of similar look alike. But that's one, in particular, the promoters and whatnot. I want to get into promoters first, but I want to touch on here and there ones. So I'm gonna go to the more interesting ones that I can find. I'm gonna go to Ole Anderson first. I was gonna do Jim Barnett, but he's closer. Um, Alan Robert Roskowitz, better known as Ole Anderson, is an American retired professional wrestler, referee, promoter, part-time of the Anderson family, fictional family. Anderson was a founding member of the fictional stable, the Four Horsemen. Alan Robert Roskowitz. You learn something every day. Okay. Anderson started wrestling in 1967 in the American Wrestling Association as Rock Roskowitz. National Alliance, he went into work in the National Alliance and sanctioned the promoters such as Jim Crockett Promotions, JCVD out of Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia Championship Wrestling, JCW, where he adopted the ring name of Ole Anderson. A play on words referring to the toxic shrub of oleander. They became the member of the legendary tag team called the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, that was a team. With him and Gene Anderson, after Lars Anderson left the team in the late 60s, from the mid 70s to the mid 80s, the Mid-Atlantic Championship territory version of NWA Tag Team Championships 7 times each. Anderson's feuded with such stars as Mr. Wrestling, Mr. Wrestling 2 or 3, Wahoo McDaniel, Jack Briscoe, Jerry Briscoe, Dusty Rhodes, Tommy Rich, Johnny Weaver, Dino Bravo, Paul Jones, Ric Flair, Rick the Pound Valentine, Ricky Steamboat, Rufus R. Jones, the Mongolians, Thunderbolt Patterson throughout the 70s and 80s. Behind the scenes, the Andersons were also the primary bookers of the GCW, also had a stint booking in JCW. In 1981-82, for the first time ever, booked both companies, simultaneously combining both rosters. The Supercars was noted often from the best actions in business at the time. He left JCW to book wrestling in JCW full time, where Jack and Jerry Briscoe sold their majority of the interest in the promotion to Vince McMahon. Yeah, I remember that story. I remember someone talking about that. It was probably Bruce Pitcher or someone where they sold their half, whatever. But I know Ole Anderson mainly as one of the Minnesota Wrecking Crew. Like, I don't have any other, memories of him as being part of this great tag team with Arn Anderson, and also being like the backing of the Four Horsemen with what's his guy's name? J.J. Dillon, which I didn't know he was a wrestler. It's kind of funny. Amazing when people you don't know too much, you just know him from the thing you know him from. I'm gonna skip his, and I'm gonna look at some other people and kind of just read through, and hopefully I can. Actually, I don't know anything. I'm doing Jim Barnett, but actually I don't know anything about Jim Barnett. I know he was openly gay man at the time. James Edward Barnett, born June the 9th, 1924, and he had passed away September the 18th, 2004. He was an American professional wrestling promoter and one of the owners of the Indianapolis National Wrestling Alliance promotion, Australia World Championship Wrestling, George Championship Wrestling. He's also served as the federal holder during the president of Jimmy Carter. Oh, that's weird. All right. Jim Barnett was born in Oklahoma City. He attended the University of Chicago in the 1940s and 1949. He went to work for Fred Koffler Wrestling Magazine. Wrestling also wasn't, as he liked it, called in Chicago. Eventually became involved in the operations of Kohler's wrestling promotion. In 1955, Barnett became the part owner of Kohler's International Wrestling Alliance. The promotion of Indianapolis, he moved to Indianapolis in 1958, where he entered into the partnership where wrestling promotions Johnny Doyle and started to run wrestling shows as a national basis in the cities including Detroit, Denver, Los Angeles, sometimes cooperating in the NWA territories promotions, and sometimes operating in competitive with its local NWA promotion in Detroit. The book, The Thin Trinity 30, Thirsty, by Shannon Ragland, chronicles the actors Rock Hudson involvement in the sex scandals in the University of Kentucky involving the football team. Ragland writes that Jim Barnett, a wrestler promoter, engaged in prostitution with members of the team, that the Houston was one of the Barnett's customers. Oh, they're trying to get at. They're trying to